Hi everybody, I'm Kathleen Byram, and I'm the author of Conversations with Dawnkey, a bipolar journey. What I'd like to talk to you about is that phantom within. And what I mean by that is, I have had an experience with feeling like something is happening inside my body, as though there was like a spirit inside doing something, moving. Does that make any sense? Well, if it doesn't, I'm about to make it make some. I asked Gemini, when you do the same thing all day and then lay in bed feeling like you're still doing it, like you have a ghost inside you, what is that called? And Gemini replied, that strange phantom feeling, like your nervous system is still running on a loop of whatever repetitive task, motion, or environment you spent all day dealing with, goes by a few different names depending on whether it's visual, physical, or cognitive. The Tetris effect. This was originally named after what people experienced after playing hours of the video game Tetris, seeing the blocks fall when they closed their eyes. This term describes a broader psychological and neurological phenomenon. When you dedicate a massive amount of time, concentration, or physical effort to a single activity, your brain continues to process and loop those patterns even after you've stopped. It can manifest as visual loops, seeing lines, shapes, or repetitive movements behind your eyelids. Kinesthetic loops, the sensation of still moving, driving, rocking like after being on a boat or a roller coaster, or making physical motions long after you've laid down. Then there's game transfer phenomena, GTP, or sensory after effects. In scientific and psychological contexts, researchers look at how prolonged engagement with an environment, whether it's video games, heavy machinery, sorting items on a line, or repetitive physical labor, temporarily alters your perception and involuntary thoughts. Your brain builds temporary neural shortcuts to make you more efficient at the task. Let me say that again. Your brain builds temporary neural shortcuts to make you more efficient at the task. And when the task ends, those pathways keep firing out of sheer momentum. That makes me think of things getting easier when they're repeated. It makes me think about hearing "I love you" repeatedly. This is what happened to me when I met my partner, Rick, and he told me continually that he loved me, and I got to where I could hear it in my head, and it was good for me. It was good for my psyche. There are other things that if you do them repeatedly, it's like it'll wear a little pathway for you. Think about it. Hypnagogia and proprioceptive hallucinations. If you feel this most acutely right as you are drifting off to sleep, you are experiencing hypnagogia, the transitional state between wakefulness and sleep. Because your body is preparing for rest while your brain is still replaying the day's dominant sensory input, Your muscles, inner ear, or spatial awareness can misfire, making you feel like you are still physically trapped inside the motion or labor of the day. Essentially, your brain worked so hard to adapt to your environment that it temporarily forgot how to turn off the simulation once you left it. And then I asked, what about the auditory experience of hearing something repeatedly, then hearing it in your head later? What is that called? The auditory version is driven by a few overlapping psychological and neurological phenomena. When you spend hours listening to a specific sound, voice, machine, or song, and then hear it looping in your head later, it is generally referred to through these concepts: the phonological loop and working memory echo. In cognitive psychology, the phonological loop is a component of your short-term memory responsible for dealing with verbal and auditory information. It acts like a continuous loop of audio tape that records what you hear. When you are exposed to the same sound all day, your brain's auditory cortex heavily activates those neural pathways. Once the sound stops, the phonological loop keeps spinning out of sheer momentum, replaying the audio fragment because the pathways are still warmed up. 2. An earworm, involuntary musical imagery. If the sound is rhythmic, melodic, or repetitive speech that carries a cadence, it is often called an earworm or stuck song syndrome. Researchers often describe this as a cognitive itch. Just like your physical skin might itch if it's irritated, your brain's auditory system experiences a sort of neurological itch when exposed to heavy repetition, and the brain scratches it by involuntarily replaying the song over and over. Polyneurosis, when it's literal. In a more literal clinical sense, continuing to actually perceive a sound long after the physical noise has stopped is known as polyneurosis. While earworms are experienced as thoughts or internal replays in the mind's ear, polyneurosis is a rare neurological phenomenon where the auditory cortex genuinely misfires and makes you feel like the environmental sound is still ringing in your ears or environment. And that's all I have to say about that. I would love to hear your comments about your own experiences that you may not have been able to describe before. It would be interesting. I have had experiences that I thought were ghosts and things like that, and it can be described neurologically what's happening. I find it very interesting. So be sure to comment if you feel like it, and would you do me the favor of just clicking the like button for me? It does a lot of good for me algorithm-wise. And subscribe if you feel like it. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.